G'day everybody, it's Master Yoda here and hope you guys are all doing well. Title of today's video is the pros, sorry, no pun intended, and cons of escort selling or pay for play. Okay, we'll start with the pros. Pro number one is choice. Yeah, look, when you go to a brothel or you choose an independent late at night, you've got choice. So, for example, when I go to a brothel, yeah, you go there, you're usually greeted by the madame or the female owner. And she takes you in a room, and they bring the ladies out, and you pick the one you want, pick the one you like. I've slept with some beautiful ladies. I mean, I have to pay for it, of course. And as you know, I have preference for older women, mature age ladies tonight. Your milfs, cougars, hot grannies, and some of them are absolutely stunning. And a lot of them are beautiful, and they're great in bed as well. I've been with ladies tonight from all over the world. Beautiful ladies too. Very beautiful. Yes, you have choice. You choose. Pro number two, no BS. Yeah, look, when you go to see a lady of the night, you know where you stand. She wants your money. She needs to be paid, and she knows that you need short-term sexual relief and just some female companionship and comfort. So you know where you stand. There's no BS. She needs to be paid, and she knows that you need some short-term sex and comfort, and some companionship. Pro number three: no chance of false allegations. Yeah, look, even if you're able to pick up a woman in a bar or a nightclub or a pub or wherever, and even if you have 100% consensual bedroom fun, it should always be 100% consensual. What's to stop her from the next day or whenever making a false allegation against you? And it's happened to guys, and they've had their lives ruined, absolutely ruined by someone who's made a false allegation against them. So when you see her later tonight, there's no chance of that happening because it's a financial transaction. You've given her money in exchange for sex. Okay, pro number four, it's discreet and private. I suppose this applies more to married guys trapped in dead bedroom marriages. Now, look, I'm not encouraging men to cheat on their partners. No, you should be loyal to your partner. But what's a married guy who's trapped in a dead bedroom supposed to do? It's probably the better option rather than having an affair, because if he sees a hooker, it's a bit like confession in the sense that what happens in the room stays in the room. I think you Americans have an expression for or phrase. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yeah, it leaves no paper trail. Yeah, because if a man has an affair, he's a mistress or a side piece, room on the side. Should that relationship end, as an act of vengeance, his mistress could rat him out to his wife. So it's discreet. Pro number five, better quality sex. Yeah, look, even if you're fortunate enough to pick up a woman in a bar or nightclub, realistically, how good is the bedroom fun going to be? Chances are you're both going to be pissed as fast. Sorry. For those of you outside of Australia, pissed is Australian slang for getting drunk. The expression we say, that a person's pissed as a fart, or they've been on the piss, which means they're drunk, or so realistically, how's it going to be? I have a close uncle friend of mine. A couple of years ago, he was lucky enough to pick up a woman in a bar or a nightclub, and the sex the bedroom fun was 100% consensual. But he said he only made love for about 15 minutes, and then she passed out because she was out of it. She was drunk. I mean, don't get me wrong, she came on to him, and it was 100% consensual, but she passed out after 15 minutes. And even for you as a man, if you're pissed as a fart, how are you going to perform when you have sex? Because as we all know, getting drunk or being affected by recreational drugs, it doesn't do your erections any favors. Yeah, so that's pro number five is better quality sex. Number six, it's cheaper than a wife or a girlfriend. Yeah, big time. You look at these married or these divorced guys, who've been absolutely wrecked in the family court system. And these guys, in some cases, or a lot of cases, these guys lose houses, cars, money, their pension fund, or here in Australia we call our pension fund superannuation. I think in America you call it your 401k. Yeah, these guys have just lost God knows how much money. I've got a close friend of mine. He's got an uncle who's on his third marriage, and in his first two marriages, he lost 70% of his assets. 70%. Let that sink in. We're talking about multi-million-dollar houses and prime real estate, millions of dollars of that. Expensive cars. I think he bought his second, well now ex-wife, a Mercedes-Benz, and they're not cheap. And obviously you got to think of all the other money he would have spent on them, taken on overseas holidays, buying clothes, gifts, taking them out to expensive dinners. Also, too, I think he had two sons and he put them in one of the most expensive private schools here in Sydney. That wouldn't have been cheap either. So, yeah, all the money that he spent, well, he basically simped for his ex-wives, and you probably didn't get that much sex because, as we know, a lot of marriages these days are dead bedroom marriages, and when he got divorced, poor, he got burnt. And also, too, you got to think of the money he would have paid in legal fees, because I believe what my friend was telling me, his uncle, when he fought his ex-wives in divorce court, he got barristers, QCs. For those outside of Australia, barrister or QC is like a hotshot lawyer. These guys charge thousands of dollars a day for them to represent you in court. So so this guy would have lost a ton of money. So yeah, escort selling or pay for play does work out cheaper than a wife or girlfriend. There's a very funny old saying: if it flies, floats, or fucks, sorry, pardon my language, it's cheaper to rent it. Well, it is. Yeah, absolutely. And also too, just going back. Sorry, just sort of go back to trying to pick up a woman in a nightclub. You're probably better off paying for play, because when you do a cost to benefit analysis, once you factor in the cost of nightclub entry fees, alcohol, even if you buy alcohol for yourself, the cost of your Uber or taxi fees, you're going to be too pissed to drive home or too drunk to drive home. Cost of food, yeah, it'd be cheaper to pay for play, because a night out in the town, particularly here in Sydney, which is a very expensive city, you're going to a couple of $100, and there's no chance, there's no guarantee you're going to get laid. So why not just bypass all that bullshit and just save yourself a bit of money and just pay for play? There's one of my favourite mature age brothels on both on Friday and Saturday nights. They're open very late till 5 a.m. the following morning. I call it peak hour. The reason why I call it peak hour is because they're very busy at those times, especially in the early morning. Yeah, that's when all the wannabe failed pickup artists, they try their luck in the nightclubs, and they come to the realisation they should have just gone to the brothel and paid for it. And it would have been cheaper if they just did that. Yeah. Okay. So that's pro number 6. Cheaper than a wife or a girlfriend, and cheaper than wasting your time and trying to pick up a guy in a nightclub or a bar. Now we go to the cons. Number 1, no validation. Yeah. Look. With the hooker, she's only having sex with you because of the money, and that sucks. Look, I have to confess, even when I have a very passionate love-making session with one of my favourite mature age ladies at night, it's always in the back of my mind that, even if she was getting into it, it's probably an act. And even if they supposedly have orgasms, they're probably faking them. There's some good actresses out there. So there's no validation, and that sucks. When I sometimes talk to virgin inkwells about paying for it, a lot of them got a real stick up their ass. Look, I can understand from their point of view, that they want to be they want the woman to love them, have sex with them because they're actually attracted to the guy. Look, we all want that. We all want that. And that would be the case if we lived in an ideal world, but the problem is we don't live in an ideal world. Fortunately, some of us guys, because we're so unattractive, we have to pay for it. I definitely. Yes, there's no validation, and that sucks. That sucks. It's what can you do? It's just unfortunately it's one of the cons of pay for play. Yeah, no validation, but that's up front. And I suppose that ties into the pro of being the no BS, no BS. Obviously, what the hooker wants. She wants money, and she knows what you want. You want to get laid. Yeah. Okay. Con number 2: possible but low risk. Possible risk of STDs. Look, I know a lot of people who attack men who go see hookers. They say, oh, they're all dirty. Hookers or sex workers are all dirty, and they got, they spread STDs. I can understand why people would make that comment on the face of it, in the sense that obviously a sex worker having a much higher body count or more sexual partners than, say, your typical civilian woman. There's a chance that she should catch and spread STDs. Yeah, absolutely. But about 6 years ago, back in 2019, I did a little bit of research, and I had a look on the New South Wales Department of Health website, and I just wanted to look, what was the percentage, what was the rate of, what was the percentage of people who caught STDs from sex workers, and they put up some statistics about the type of STDs people caught and where they caught them from, and actually sex workers had the lowest rate. It was actually civilians who had the highest rate, and obviously, look, I don't mean to sound homophobic here, but obviously the gay community had the highest rate for other obvious reasons. But look, generally speaking, as a man, as long as you stick your your private parts where they're meant to go, as long as you engage in normal heterosexual intercourse with a woman, you're pretty safe. I mean, the chance of you catching something, it's pretty low, but obviously you should try and practice safe sex. But even if you didn't, as long as you engage in normal heterosexual intercourse with a woman, you're generally going to be safe. If you put your private parts where it's not meant to go, and I think we know what we're referring to, then you're going to have problems, because if you put it where it's not meant to go, there's a lot of bacteria and germs, and I believe the STD syphilis is a bacterial disease. It's caught as a result of men who stick their private bits where it's not meant to go. Yeah. So obviously there is a risk of STDs by seeing a lady at night, but as long as you engage in normal heterosexual sex, you're generally going to be okay. Con number 3: bad service. Yeah, well, this is in the 37 years that I've been seeing ladies at night, I've seen some dud hookers. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But look, if you see a dud hooker, just don't see her again. What I do is, when I want to try out a new girl, I take her for what I call a test fuck. Same way you take a car that you want to drive for a test drive. So I'll try her out for 30 minutes, and if she's no good, I won't see her again. And if she's good, I'll probably will see her again. But look, it can happen. You're going to get women who are going to give you the starfish experience, give you a poor service. Yeah, it sucks. What can you do? Another thing I do to try and avoid that from happening, if I've been going to a place for a while and if I want to try out a new woman, I'll speak to the madame or the female owner of the brothel and say, look, what you like in the room, been any complaints about it? Or I'll ask some of the other hookers. I mean, I've had some great recommendations from other hookers. Like I'll say I'm seeing a hooker, and I said, look, what's this girl like? Is she good? And they'll tell you. Yeah, I've had some great recommendations from hookers, other hookers, and they say, oh yeah, no, this girl's good. This one's no good. Avoid this one. This one will rip you off. Yeah, that's one good thing about honest hookers. They're probably the most trustworthy people out there. But you can get bad service. I mean, it's like you could eat out at 10 different restaurants. 9 of them the food's great. 1 of them the food's going to suck. It's just part of life. Okay, con number 4. Now this is more applicable to you guys in the US or wherever sex work is illegal, particularly in the US. Yeah, look, if any guys in the US thinking of paying for play, please be very careful. Some of your states, depending on what state of the US you live in have some very draconian laws regarding sex work and the solicitation of hookers or sex workers. I remember many years ago I was reading an article, and the New York Police Department decided to do a sting, and they caught all these unsuspecting Johns. Here in Australia, we call the man who frequents sex workers a punter. So in Australia, I'm called a punter. I believe in America you call them a John. Yeah, and what the New York Police Department did, they set up an undercover sting, and I'm just shaking my head and just saying, what did these guys do wrong? You know, all they did was they were lonely, horny, and they just wanted to get laid, and they just paid a sex worker to get laid. You know, look, and yeah, and then the New York, in addition to charging these guys, they blasted their faces all over the newspaper. Like, why? What are these guys on? Okay, if you're talking about true sex crimes like PDF files and rape, yes, of course, they're horrible, evil crimes. Yeah, they should be punished, you know, and sent to jail and given a criminal record. But some guy who's paid money to a female sex worker of a legal age, of course, you know, she has to be of the legal age, and you're charging him. What's he done wrong? I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the US. They've really got to legalise sex work over there. You know, if they do that, everyone's going to be a winner. The women are going to be protected. You're going to eliminate trafficking, pimps. The women are going to get tested. You're going to eliminate a lot of bad stuff. I don't know why. Yeah, so for you guys in the US, just be very careful. If you're thinking of going down the pay-for-play route or route, please be very careful. You know, I think there are ways around it, but be very, very, very careful. I don't want to get you guys in trouble with the law, because I believe in some states, if you're caught soliciting the services of a sex worker, you can be charged with a felony. Once again, I can't understand genuine sex crimes like PDF files and rape. Fair enough, but you know, some lonely guy just wants to pay a hooker. I mean, who's getting hurt? You know, I think in many ways, the banning of prostitution being illegal, I think it's creepy. It's a creepy law in a way, because what business is it of the government or anybody else what two consenting adults do behind closed doors, even in exchange for cash? As long as the particular female sex worker is not underage, and as long as she's not being forced to do it, I don't see a problem. I really don't see a problem. Yeah, it's a creepy law. I mean, once again, what business is of the government or anybody else what two consenting adults do behind closed doors in exchange for cash? Because at the end of the day, it's really a victimless crime. It really is. I mean, think of all the valuable police and court time that's been wasted on just busting a bunch of lonely guys who just want to get laid. Yeah. Anyway, guys, well, that's my video on the pros and cons of escort selling or pay for play. Yeah, thank you very much for listening to my video. If you'd like to leave your likes, comment, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. You guys have a great day. Bye for now.